Hello and welcome to the Blockade Runner podcast number 278. My name is John, and joining me tonight, as always, is Ryan. What's up, Ryan?
Hello, good evening. Happy to be here.
Yeah, we have convened a special emergency recording session here because the new Andor teaser trailer and poster released today. I have, in the back of my mind, Ryan, been thinking like, well, we should get another episode in before we just immediately turn to Andor. Like we did a whole bunch of Skeleton Crew episodes. We haven't done one since. Knew we'd take a little break, but figure we'll come back and talk about some stuff before it's Andor season. But here we are. So
it's Andor season.
It's Andor season. Yeah, that's true. Absolutely. So yeah, we're gonna and actually like it's a new season for us too because we're recording a podcast about this trailer. Like this news, the day the news launched, which is really like, we never do that. We're always like about a week late. So it's exciting sense. So yeah, we're just gonna jump in. We're gonna talk about the trailer, our favorite moments, the things we're most excited about, etc. But Ryan, why don't you share with us like what's your overall impression of this teaser trailer before we talk some specifics?
Hella good. I mean, damn. Uh, Obviously, we love Andor. I love Andor. Andor Season 2 is my most anticipated Star Wars anything. It's one of those things that it almost seems like a foregone conclusion that it's going to be good, because of how good season 1 was, and the continued talent behind the show. Like there have been no shakeups, no one leaving because of creative differences. It's more Andor from the people who brought you Andor. So, kind of knew it was going to be awesome whenever we got our first glimpse. And then this trailer dropped, and I gotta admit, the first moment, like once the music kicked in, it was a little jarring. And I've already seen your notes. We are going to talk more about the music and how it's actually a perfect choice. But I was not ready for that. But I've watched the trailer a few times now, and I've really, really come around to it. The music. Something else that was somewhat jarring, I think, about the trailer was the text, the acclaim in it. Like this trailer had a very it's Star Wars but good vibe to it. That was like, we kind of talked about this though, like, they really ought to lean into the, hey, this is prestige television for grown-ups that is not going to waste your time. Like, this is good ass TV. And they leaned into it, but then like, in action, it's like, this is kind of weird, but like, cool, I'll take it. And there were no lies detected in the effusive praise in the text. And and then obviously just the quality of the show itself. Visually, it looks like a movie. I like a really good Star Wars movie, or the best looking genre show on television. It's ridiculous how high quality everything looked here. Yeah, watched the trailer I think 4 times in the very short amount of time that I've had to watch it in between work and everything today, and I am very, very impressed.
Yeah, yeah, it's fantastic. I feel like I was kind of happy to see when I maybe happy's not there, but I was kind of happy to see when I saw the StarWars.com post that they called it the teaser trailer. Not that I necessarily need to see like a lot more or need to have a lot given away before the show debuts in a month and a half or so, or well, I guess it's 2 months. It's about 2 months until the show debuts. But anyway, I don't need to see a lot more, but it did feel like a tease, right? Like it does not give a lot away. It's pretty short. I think it's under 2 minutes or just over 2 minutes, something like that. So yeah, but like what was teased is fantastic. As you said, it looks great. It's pretty high octane as far as Andor goes in this trailer. Like it's pretty high octane. It's like a lot of action, lots of explosions, like not a ton of dialogue, which I think is another hallmark of it being a teaser trailer more so than a full on final trailer or whatever. Which I assume we will get one. If we don't, that's okay too. But we'll get TV spots and whatever else. So it is what it is. But yeah, it's a great tease, I think, is my big takeaway. But I did want to talk a little bit about the format of the trailer too before we kind of talk about more specifics as far as the show goes, because it's really interesting the approach they took. I do think absolutely you're right. Like it features these accolades, which is not very common for Star Wars marketing. I mean, maybe in billboards or magazine advertisements or stuff like that, or maybe like in the TV spots that come out a week or two after a movie premieres. But to really lead with like, hey, this is what Variety and Hollywood Reporter or whoever, The Verge, I can't remember who all they cited in the trailer, but to lead with that, I think it's like you said, they want to let people know that, hey, this is the well-respected Star Wars. You know what I mean? This is the
Star Wars, but good.
Yeah, I know. There was a phrase in there from one of the reviews, like Oscar-worthy performances and prestige. I saw the word
Emmy-worthy.
That's right, Emmy. Yes, Emmy, of course. Yeah, and the phrase prestige television was used in there as well too. But it's all true. You know what I mean? Yeah. It is that. I posted on Blue Sky pretty shortly after watching the trailer that even though I don't think I've been able to convince any non-Star Wars people to watch Andor, I've definitely tried, because you don't have to like Star Wars to like this show. No. You don't have to really know that much about Star Wars to like this show, and it's just so well written, so well acted, so well produced that I think a wide swath of people would enjoy the show. So to me, it's a smart call on their part to kind of do that, but it does take a little adjusting too, right? Because I'm sort of used to, like, I know what a Star Wars trailer is. It's got big sweeping music, and it kind of does like this hero's journey type thing. No matter what the movie is, it's whether it's Jyn Erso or it's Han Solo and Solo: A Star Wars Story or whatever. It's like they always kind of do that, right? Even if the movie itself is not. I mean, they usually are too, but maybe like to greater or lesser degrees focused on that kind of story.
Yeah. Well, I would say like so much Star Wars marketing is there to remind you that it's Star Wars. And that's not the case here. I mean, yeah. It's like they don't hide that it's Star Wars. There's like X-Wings and the Death Star and all this stuff, but like they're like, yeah, it's Star Wars, but it's also this.
Right.
Yeah.
And then of course I think the most shocking, the most obvious change as far as this trailer goes is the use of the song's like around 25 years old now, but a contemporary kind of rock, alt country, whatever type song in the trailer. Like that is not, they've never done that, right? I mean, the Skeleton Crew teaser or trailer, used an 80s pop song, but it was Star Warsified. It was brought into like a Star Wars, version or whatever. Beyond that, I can't think of any trailers like that used just can you? I mean, I can't think of anything like that. So
No.
it's a unique approach, but it's such an inspired choice that I kind of want to take some time to talk about that specifically a little bit later on. But at this point, we're 10 minutes in, and like, let's talk about what we saw in this trailer today.
One last thing I did want to say about the intent and the reach of this trailer is this trailer got the biggest reaction anecdotally on social media from people I follow who are not necessarily Star Wars people. There were many people who I honestly did not even know had watched Andor season 1 who were like, hell yeah to this trailer and like posting it. And it was the most posted Star Wars content I have ever seen on my Blue Sky timeline.
Right. Yeah. It'll be interesting to go look at those numbers on YouTube and stuff and see like what the reach has been with the trailer so far and whatnot. I think they always do well, and even I don't know if it's necessarily going to be a direct corollary to the success of the show or not. I think some of the shows that have not done big numbers in terms of their performance on Disney Plus still had like huge trailer stuff and whatever. But I hope that's a sign of things to come as far as people being into and being excited about this, because another point you made earlier that I totally agree with. It's like the gang's all back. It's a killer group of people like making the show, like insanely talented, just out of control, talented. And so there's no doubt, like to me, there's no doubt this season's going to be insanely good. And it's going to be very timely too. So I think, the more people watching this show, reacting to this show, and maybe listening to some of the things the show is inevitably going to want to say, the better, I think. So, yeah. Yes. All right, let's get into the trailer itself. We are not going to go through kind of moment by moment. You talked me off that ledge, Ryan, which is probably a good call. So, I think you
just want to change things up in 2025.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Like you've got this idea in your head about like the show being good. Like you want the show to be good. So you're like, well, let's do some stuff to make it good. Good idea. I like it. So we'll do that. But I do have some bullet points. I'm sure you do too that I want to talk about. The first thing, and this kind of coincides with some news we got today too. But the first thing that really stood out to me about the trailer is like the successive shots of Cassian, from behind, like walking down hallways or whatever it is.
So good.
Right? Like well timed with the music, different location, different costumes, and it just like it brought this energy to the start of the trailer as did the song. But that was really great. And what I particularly like about it is that it's this is what this show is going to be, right? It's going to be these 4 3-episode blocks of a show. And so, it's kind of telling us that right away, like you're going to see this person or you're going to see this story in multiple eras and multiple locations. And, you're going to go on a journey through different locations and times. And, I think that's clearly communicated in the opening moments of the trailer. So that was cool. And we learned from the StarWars.com post today that the show apparently is going to air in 3-episode blocks. So the show is going to be, I guess it's the whole thing's going to air over the course of 4 weeks, which I think is brilliant.
Amazing. Yeah, we were discussing this, like, to our recollection, there's never really been a show distributed this way. And I mean, there's a million television shows that I've never watched and never even heard of, so maybe it's happened. But as far as stuff that I've watched, I've never seen a show distributed like this. It's either like you get an episode every week, maybe 2 episodes at the beginning or at the end, but then like, or it's all there at once.
Yeah.
But how did you describe it? Because I love this.
I think I said like we're gonna get 4 Star Wars movies 4 weeks in a row. Like every week we're gonna get a new Star Wars movie, because I assume these 3 episodes combined are gonna be around, I would guess, 80 minutes to 80 minutes to 100 minutes, maybe something like that, but somewhere along the lines of 30-40 minute episodes. And 3 of those is like a kind of a short Star Wars movie every week. So that's going to be like crazy. And it's going to be like a new Star Wars movie made by a creative team that are absolutely like best in class, just killing it, like making these incredible, this incredible show with these incredible characters. And like, I think about like how much punch and how much impact the first season had. And just the idea of like being able to watch like the Narkina 5, I think that's the name of the prison planet, right? Narkina 5, to be able to watch that, like those 3 episodes as like sitting down and just watching that as a movie the day it came out. It's crazy. I mean, and we are losing a little, I do think we're losing something, but I think we're gaining a lot too, obviously. Like, it's fun to watch the first third of that and be like, oh my God, for the next week, I'm going to be anticipating what's going to happen and thinking, all that stuff. But I think it's just smart in terms of giving people the best opportunity to appreciate this show for what it is. And I think it's really smart, like being able to, and it's a great like middle ground between like the Netflix approach, which is like we put out like 6 or 8 episodes. Like it used to be a whole season of a show. If it's a really big show, sometimes now they split it into 2 or 3 segments so that you're going to subscribe for more than 1 month, which is smart. But, I think it's a good middle ground between that approach, which is like give you all of it at once, and, the other side of that, which is week by week. And, I'm watching Severance right now, which is a really great show. And it is fun. Like my wife and I are, talking about it after every episode, and like it'll be days later and she'll come up to me and she'll be like, what about, like, I've got this theory about what's going on with these characters in Severance or whatever. And so there's something really great about that too. But I think having seen the first season of Andor, knowing how they put these blocks of stories together, I think it makes all the sense in the world. And it's, again, going to be the best opportunity for the show to have the most impact on people, I think. So I love that.
Yeah.
All right. I was excited to see Cassian and Bix back together. I love Bix. We saw a couple shots of her in the trailer, and she's a great character. Obviously, like where we left her at the end of season 1, she was in pretty rough shape. So to see her pretty actively involved in things is fun. There was a pretty significant moment in the teaser where her and Cassian are walking together. They kind of have like coats, like parkas or hoods on or whatever, and they're walking away, and like one of them, I think Cassian, like, holds up the remote or whatever, and then there's an explosion behind them. So
perfectly timed with the music. It's so good.
Yeah. Two absolutely gorgeous people back together, just blowing shit up. Like, I love that.
What more do you want?
Yeah, for real. So that was really cool. Jump in anytime, if you have anything you want to bring up or whatever.
So something that I really loved in this teaser was in the beginning of the teaser, there's a bunch of shots of these like wheat fields or whatever the Star Wars version of wheat is. And like, for one, there's a shot with like the stormtroopers in this field, and that was like the shot where I was like, this looks so good. Like, this looks like a movie. Like, it's because there's so many things that could go wrong with a shot like that. Like, you, it's very easy to just have a shot that looks like that be like, oh, that's the 501st in a cornfield in DeKalb, Illinois. Like, I mean, you could very easily have it look like that, but it's like, no, this looks cinematic as hell, and like everything looks good. Um, and but then I think like bigger picture with those shots, because there's also like the shot of um a ship like firing a rocket at like a ground transport or something, and blowing it up, and it's like, oh, this show is going to give us like more of like the boots on the ground in civilian spaces combat between the rebellion and the empire, which um I always thought was like, it's something very interesting and something we didn't really get any in the original trilogy. Like, you have a battle on Hoth, but it's not like, oh, people are like living here. Like, this is a battlefield. And same with like Endor and stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, it's like the Ewoks home, but it's so like, I don't know, it's just the vibe of like kind of that like guerrilla warfare in like living spaces of like civilizations is just like really interesting to me.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about it until now. What I did think about when I saw it is that it kind of, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but it sort of evoked to me the opening shots of Rogue One, or the opening scene of Rogue One.
Yeah, with Galen Erso.
Yeah, the Urso farm, and Krennic standing out there with him and stuff. And that may be intentional or not, I don't know, but that was cool. Very cinematic, obviously. But then also, too, it kind of reminds me of Lothal, actually. Like that's something that maybe has been most explored in Rebels, which there was a fair bit of, people rising up against the Empire, or seeing the boot of the Empire on people in their living spaces and that kind of stuff. So I doubt that's intentional, but I did love that as an element of Star Wars Rebels. And so, yeah, I think that's that'll be cool to see in super high quality, high budget live action. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a quick thing, but I felt like I had to bring it up. There's a shot of like a group of helmetless stormtroopers, I believe, unless they're just, people wearing stormtrooper armor, but there's a shot of that. And we've seen like Finn with his helmet off, or we've seen obviously Luke and Han, wearing stormtrooper gear, but this sort of felt like, this is like a group of stormtroopers like in a tunnel, and they're for whatever reason like not wearing helmets. And I don't know, I was like, it looks cool. It's intriguing. Like, why are they doing that? And just a little bit of a different visual from what we've ever seen before in Star Wars. So I thought that was cool. And then, honestly, if I was going to pick one thing that excited me the most from this trailer, I think it's the shots of Mothma, Mon Mothma, and then adjacent to that, Director Krennic. But like Mothma, specifically on what I assume is Chandrila. What I fear is her daughter Lita's wedding. That was killer to me. Like, it was so, it was like, first off, it was beautiful. Like, all the costumes and the choreography of the people dancing and all that. And then there was like a shot of Mothma there kind of in the middle of it all, like turning back, looking towards the camera. And there's this look of like kind of horror or pain on her face. I'm like, man, we're going to learn more about her kind of culture and heritage. And we're going to obviously see more of the deal with the devil she's, I think, inevitably going to make in terms of marrying off her daughter to that gangster from Chandrila. So I mean, I can't wait for this show to dig back into that story.
Yeah, yeah. I thought that was definitely a surprising kind of subplot in the first season. It was like something I never really like expected to be handled in the way it was in Star Wars. And yeah, I think just the the setting and just the expression on Guinevere O'Reilly's face in here is just, it's so weighty. Yeah, it's yeah, that's those were really really great shots.
Yeah, and there's a similar shot of in terms of the expression, the similar shot in proximity to that one of Luthen as well,
Mm-hmm.
where I read his face as like kind of coming to terms with, you know, some kind of sacrifice he had to make. Like, I don't know if it's just because I'm thinking about Mothma and Chandrila and her daughter and all that, but you know, probably compromising himself in some way. And he's already made a lot of compromises, I think, morally speaking, but
Mm-hmm.
something like some real regret on his face, I feel like there, you know, so um, could be something completely different. It might be, you know, that's a common thing in trailers, right? Like you're watching a trailer and because of the placement of shots or whatever, it's like
Mm-hmm.
you think things are connected that aren't, or you read things and, you know, you kind of misread or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is, there's something going on behind the eyes there of Luthen Rael, who's just like such an incredible character. And yeah, I can't wait for more of him. You know, we saw maybe a couple shots of him, but again, this is like a teaser that doesn't, you know, I wouldn't say it gives us too much meat in terms of like where things are going. Um, you know, I mean, they're going towards chaos, they're going towards revolution, they're going towards, you
I
know,
mean, we know where it's going.
yeah, but real, you know, specifics of plot details and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. Like, it doesn't give us a whole ton. Honestly, I mean, I think the Chandrila thing is probably the most, you know, we can kind of know, not know, but the most we can really kind of feel like we know from this trailer. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, I can't wait to see it unfold.
Yeah, but I mean, you think about the characters in this trailer, and you think of like what is one of the biggest themes of Andor, and like why do some of these characters exist in this show? Like Mon Mothma and Luthen and Saw Gerrera, and like they are there to teach Cassian about, commitment to a cause and sacrifice to a cause. And those characters sacrifice so much and, um, you know, everything. And that's, they are Andor's, Obi-Wan Kenobi, um, throughout this story, and you know taking him to the extreme of his beliefs, which results in him sacrificing everything in Rogue One. And
Mm.
I don't there are many ways to read this show and many layers to it, but for me, that's like the core story of this show, um, is them, Cassian's journey to, who he is in Rogue One, and the decisions he makes at by the end of Rogue One.
Yeah,
So
I
I
mean,
think like showing them like in this trailer, it's like communicating a lot. Like they are reflective, they are making sacrifices, they are talking about, commitment to a cause, to a war. And I think that's conveyed really well here.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting. You mentioned like them being his Obi-Wan or whatever. Like one thing I can't wait to learn more about and just experience with this second season of Andor is sort of the places and the ways in which they will differ, and the places and ways in which they will have conflict with one another. Mothma and Luthen. I mean, I think they're both going to make their deals with the devil. They're both going to sell their souls. They're both going to, do things that I forget the line Cassian has in Rogue One, but he's like, all the awful things I've done will be for nothing if we don't, go do this right now. Like it can't be for nothing because I have sold my soul. He doesn't say that, but you know what I mean? That's what he's saying, right? Like I have sacrificed my integrity, my morality, etc., for this cause. So it can't be for nothing. Both of those characters are going to do that. Both already have. Both are going to do that certainly more in this season. But it'll be interesting to see how each of them feels about those decisions and like where they land on all that. Going forward. And then two, I can't wait to watch this show and follow it up with Rogue One and kind of see the complete story of Cassian too, because it's one of those very Star Wars things where we already know the ending, which is pretty common in Star Wars, and we know that like Rogue One opens with him killing the guy that looks like Pablo Hidalgo. I forget his name at the moment, but killing him, basically in cold blood, right? I mean, like he kills that guy, and we get the impression that he's had to do that often, or at least that wasn't the first time, right? But towards the end of the second act of Rogue One, he chooses not to do that to Galen Erso, and it's like this is one of those things where it's like, yeah, I mean, I have already become that guy who has sacrificed my integrity, morality, however you want to put it, in service of a cause. And I don't think Rogue One is really saying like he shouldn't have killed that guy in the beginning of the movie, or he shouldn't have done the things he's inevitably going to do in season 2 of Andor. But it's also not how his story ends, right? Like he kind of finds he reclaims some of the humanity that he lost during that war a little bit in the end. While still, I mean, he sacrifices everything. You know what I mean? But he's also not just like, I don't know. I think he reclaims some humanity, and I think one of the things that is going to be great about this season is watching how far these characters are pushed, how close they come to breaking, how much humanity they have to sacrifice or give up, in service of something larger, and how uncertain they'll be, and how uncertain we as an audience may be, that in any given situation, if they are making the right decision or not. That's one of the things I think that makes this show so excellent.
Yeah, and I mean, Cassian was already a complex character just in Rogue One before like any of this Andor stuff was announced or anything. I mean, like it's like now we know Rogue One inside and out, and we've watched it a million times, and have there's been so much discourse and everything around Rogue One. It's just like, it's just a Star Wars movie, but I still just remember how different that movie felt at the time. Like your first time watching that movie in the theater, there really had been nothing like it. And there's things that are, it's very evocative of other things, and there's like, there's fan service in there and all this stuff. But really, I mean, even at the time, you're like, it felt so different because Cassian, and like Jin is the lead in that film, but like Cassian is the other lead in it, and and he's such a complex character there. And then he becomes even more complex after you watch the first season of Andor. And then now we are going to see his journey, like you were saying, like it's inevitably going to go to some dark and morally complex places. And, you know, at the end of the day, he's still a hero who sacrificed everything. And, like, what I love about Rogue One and Andor is, like, characters are allowed to be complex and flawed. They're allowed to make, you know, morally complex decisions. And, like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, for maybe for some people, like, their their moral compass with fictional characters is such that they're like, nope, he killed that dude in cold blood, that's a deal breaker, like, I'm out with this guy, like, he cannot be, he's not a hero or whatever. But I mean, I think it's cool, that we have to kind of like wrestle with this stuff and be like, man, I love this guy, but, like, dang, you're doing some not great stuff. And, like, I like Mon Mothma, like, we know her from, George's films as this, like, very, I don't know, like, I can't really think of any like major flaws in her in those films. Like, she obviously had, a finite amount of screen time in them,
Yeah.
but, like, she's always just like, oh, she's like the badass rebel leader who's, like, really cool, calm, collected, like, she's devoted to the cause, she's super smart, like, she has a plan, she's just a natural leader and all this stuff. And, like, we've seen now, like, her more complexity to her character. And, like, I think that's really, really cool, and something really great that this show kind of delivers.
Yeah, and it's an extension of like what we see with Saw Gerrera, who's obviously in the show and in Rogue One and in Clone Wars and whatever else. And so but he's kind of so far like off the deep end in a lot of ways, which still some of the things he's doing are necessary, some of them are right, maybe a lot of them are, I don't know, but, like, I feel like he's uh that's a character that is really, really interesting. He is complex, but also I feel like as an audience we're watching that character and saying, like, this is what happens when you really get pushed, like, all the way to the edge, and kind of like, what does it look like to see someone who's so far down the rabbit hole of, like, zealotry that they're barely who they were before, right? And I think with Luthen and Mon Mothma and Cassian, they're, I don't know, I'm so intrigued by each of the journey that each of those characters is going to go on, and the way they kind of mirror each other, and where they'll differ and all that kind of stuff. So and of course, we're going to get more Saw. We saw Saw Gerrera in a couple of places in this trailer too. So how he's gonna factor in, how he'll kind of contribute to the rebellion as it's getting closer and closer to Rogue One. I mean, we kind of, again, we know sort of what his place is roughly at the time of Rogue One, so it can't really go beyond that. But to see kind of his involvement, and it'll be another layer, another wrinkle of complexity, I think, in how this all comes together. So that is going to be fun to see. Also fun to see K2SO. They gave us so little. One shot of K2SO. No dialogue. One shot of K2SO. But I think, as much as I would have loved to have seen him in the first season, I think the restraint to hold off and wait to kind of bring him in until now,
yes,
was good. It'll be interesting to see at which which block of episodes, which year of Cassian's life will he show up? I'm assuming like middle to late middle. Maybe this probably the third arc. Maybe he'll show up. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, Alan Tudyk is great. The character is great, and I think I know their first meeting was depicted in comics years ago, but I have a feeling it was like a one shot, I think, and I have a feeling Tony Gilroy is probably just gonna kind of do his own thing as far as that goes, but it'll be so, that's kind of, I mean, no disrespect to anybody who loved the original meeting of those two characters, but I think it's kind of fun to just I would guess it's basically a wide open slate at this point. Like what is their relationship, the formation of their relationship going to be? And so even if you love that one shot, I read it back in the day. It's been a long time, but I did read that comic, and I think I remember liking it, but I don't really remember what happened. So
I don't either.
Yeah. So I'm just open to like whatever's going to be.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig that up. I know I have the issue. I think it was a Phil Noto cover, if I remember correctly, which is cool. Yeah, I want to dig that up and check that out before the show. Like, that'll be kind of fun to see what's similar, what's different. But yeah, I think K2SO's involvement here is going to be interesting. There's a weird meta dynamic, I think, with K2SO right now, because again, at the time, we were limited on like sassy droids being depicted in Star Wars, like often there for like one-liners and, comedic effect, but like maybe like kind of like a dark humor some of the times. And I think since Rogue One, maybe you could say we've been spoiled with sassy, quirky droids, or you could say it's become like a trope in Star Wars, in a lot of what we've gotten since then. So I am wondering how are they going to make K2SO like feel unique and like a real part of this story, because when you look at the characters in Andor, every character matters, and every character like represents something, and brings a like philosophy to the show, and to the the dynamic between the rebellion and the Empire. So it's like, how do you make like a sassy droid kind of fit into this cast? And I no doubt they're gonna pull it off, but it's just like, I can't really picture how it's going to work.
Yeah. I mean, he's got attitude or whatever. Like, he's witty and he's sarcastic and all those things. But there's also like quite a bit of just implied sort of like warmth and in like an implied bond between Cassian and K2. Yeah. And obviously he makes that sacrifice towards the end of Rogue One. So I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little more like they're more concerned with the emotional element of it than they are the, sassy or kind of edgy component of K2. I mean, like, I'm sure that's still going to be there, and, it is what it is. But like, I wonder if that's because I think other Star Wars projects or movies or whatever, maybe it's like, okay, well, we need this archetype. We need like the witty or funny or edgy droid or whatever. And I don't know. Part of me thinks that they won't be coming at it from that angle with this show. They won't be worried about that. I also doubt. I mean, I don't know. Maybe this is naive, but like I kind of feel like the people making this show also will be like, well, I don't really care what the other shows have done with droids of this type or whatever. We're going to do whatever we want. You know what I mean? So yeah. I don't know. They may not be responding to that at all or worried about that at all, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay. Last couple things I have as far as stuff I wanted to bring up from the trailer. Just brief glimpses of Deidre Miro and Cyril Karn there. Didn't see a lot of them. Got, I think, one kind of solid shot of each of them. So that's something the show is maybe keeping close to its chest for this next season. But, no doubt they'll factor in a fairly significant way. I'm excited to see what happens with their creepy, unhealthy, weird relationship and, to see kind of how each of them, like I want to see Deidre and Director Krennic existing in the same empire. I think that's going to be fun. Mm-hmm. We did see Cyril's mom again towards the end of the trailer.
As unhinged as ever.
Yeah. And really that's like, those are my final thoughts in terms of like what I put down as like moments or whatever I wanted to bring up, highlights from the trailer, is that the final 10, 15 second, I don't know what the time is, but the final kind of chunk of the trailer is like, unhinged would be the feeling I get from those final moments of the trailer. There's Melchi kind of standing there in a corner, like taking cover, and he looks like he's super stressed and scared. There's Cyril's mom like maniacally laughing at one point, and then at least one or two other characters like screaming. The last one, I'm not sure who that character is, but he's just like screaming at the top of his lungs in I don't know, horror, frustration, panic, whatever it is. But yeah, kind of like the last few moments of the trailer, like boom, 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 like this is all hitting the wall, and it's really pushing people to their limits, which I'm going to guess is going to be a part of this season, pushing a lot of these characters to their breaking points and maybe beyond. So I thought that was a great way to close out the teaser.
Yeah. And then one more shot in that sort of like montage there. I guess it's a TIE fighter. Yep. A TIE interceptor. I don't know. It's one of those pointy Empire ships. But it's like there's like stormtroopers shooting at it. I think it's like a split-second shot. Yeah. But again, it looks so good. It looks movie quality. And it's, one of those things, if you listen to the show, we're always pointing out when ships in Star Wars television look weird and not right and look either like too heavy on CG or the volume or whatever, and this is like, nope, this looks like it would in a Star Wars movie. Like it just the action there, just it looks so good.
No, 100%. So everything's great in this trailer from top to bottom, visually speaking. Everything looks promising. There's nothing there that gave me pause. No, not even close. No. Okay, well then
final shot post logo.
Yes.
Of handsome smirking Diego Luna.
Wow. Yeah, very debonair. That's I assume that'll be sort of a kind of like spy. Maybe, it'll be cool to see him in that kind of world. You know what I mean? Nice clothes and running around with people with money and, that kind of stuff. Like I'm guessing that's what that arc will be kind of leaning into, and knowing where Cassian comes from and where he's going and what his politics are. Like, I can't wait to see him traveling in that world a little bit, whether it's for a full kind of 3-episode arc or part of one or whatever, but that should be fun. And yeah, our guy is quite a handsome guy, you know what I mean? So he cleans up and gives that look, and it works. It definitely works. Okay. So as we kind of move towards wrapping up the show here, I definitely want to talk about the music in this trailer.
Yes.
Ryan, so the artist is Steve Earle, and I have to say I'm really not familiar with this artist. I don't know his music. Do you know Steve Earle? Like, is this someone that you were into or familiar with, or?
Nope.
Okay.
I'm not really a folk country guy. But I do have a deep love for the I guess like political like Woody Guthrie
Sure.
school of just political protest folk and country. It is something that's like uniquely Americana, and I obviously was like, okay, I like this song in the context of this trailer. I like the lyrics. Maybe it's not something I would have necessarily listened to on my own, but I looked up a little bit about Steve Earle, and then like found out like, yep, he's a protest singer, and has a really rich history in both like just musical accomplishments, but also in politics as well. And his politics align with both mine and that of the show. So I was pretty stoked when I read about him.
Yeah. So I had to I was Google searching the lyrics, and I was like, okay, who is it, trying to figure out who it was, and I eventually did. But then also Ian in our Blockade Runner Discord, linked to in the show notes, was like, oh, Steve Earle, and I was like, oh man, I don't know him, but yeah, so he endorsed him, knew about him beforehand, and I'm thinking, Ryan, that like in the Bush era, we were listening to like Rock Against Bush from Fat Mike, or like the Plea for Peace tour compilations, or like that sort of like more of the punk.
Yes, but we're also listening to Bright Eyes, and
Bright Eyes, that's true,
and stuff. And
that's true. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I'm
like folk.
Yeah.
Protest.
I'm just saying there must have been another corner pocket of the music industry that was, kind of responding to Bush in its own way that that I missed out on in my 20s there. But so like I started listening to the album today, the album that this song is on. He's got a lot of albums, but this song is called The Revolution Starts Now. And I listened to as much of the record today as I could before, having to do other things. And that's the opening track, and it's awesome. And then like the next couple songs are just as good. One of them I liked maybe better too. And they are very political, very very moving. It's good stuff. So I would recommend to anybody who enjoyed the song in the trailer, like check the record out. I added it in my streaming library, and I'm gonna keep exploring his discography, because it's from what I've heard so far, I really like it. So that's cool. And yeah. And as far as his politics go, just reading a little bit about him today, reading some quotes and stuff like that, like he appears to be anti-war. Very pro-choice, and in talking about being pro-choice, he was like, I saw a quote, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically like, rich people always have access to abortion. It's just whether or not poor people in America are going to have access to it. That's basically what this is all about. And I thought, all right, this guy is not kidding around, and knows what he's talking about, and is somebody who's unafraid to pull punches and kind of speak truth to power. So I think that's what the song is doing. And like at first when I was hearing the song in the trailer, I thought, okay, well, he's singing about revolution. So is this just like, did they find a song that's vaguely about revolution or has the word revolution in it or whatever? And like, well, that'll be good for Andor because it's a revolutionary show. So I was super happy to learn like, no, this is,
legit.
It's legit. And it's like you said, like the politics of this song. And from what we can tell, this artist really, really align in a deep way with what I think the politics of this show are as well. So that's awesome. That's some grade A marketing there, in my opinion, even if it's not an orchestral John Williams-esque, epic, like space opera. Like it's not what we expected, but I love that.
Yes, but my question here is, when did Star Wars get political?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, that is a shame that it's gone and gotten political. A great account to follow. Great account to follow on YouTube and on Blue Sky as well as Star Wars Explained. And Alex and Molly, they posted on their account, I think on Sunday, a couple of images of George Lucas with some great quotes. I shared those with you guys in a chat the other day, but some comments from George Lucas. I do not believe that the rich should be able to buy the government. That's what George Lucas said. I'm a very ardent patriot, but I'm also a very ardent believer in democracy, not capitalist democracy. George Lucas said that. And George Lucas said, we got a country based on greed. And as long as you got that, then it's corrupt. So, I suppose you could try to argue, well, George Lucas has always been political, but not Star Wars. I suppose you could be wrong and try to argue that, but it's always been there.
Then you watch the prequels and completely miss the point. Which
Newt Gunray. Yeah, that's true. Or you, I guess, ignore decades worth of interviews where he's talking about the Empire being the United States and the Ewoks being Vietnam or whatever. Yeah. I mean, he's never shied away from it, so people maybe don't want to hear it.
You could ignore all of that, yes.
Yeah. If you tried really hard, yeah. So yeah, good stuff. Glad to see it, especially at a time where like corporations, including Disney, are not always kind of standing firm on some of the beliefs or ethics they claim to have. It's good to see that this is hopefully going to get to us unfiltered, uncensored, and that they're going to let it be what it is. And I think that's the least they could do at the moment. So I'm excited for that. Quick quote here from Tony Gilroy I want to share, and then also some news about the episodes. So this is from the StarWars.com article. We'll link to it. It's pretty brief, but there's a great comment from Tony Gilroy here. He says, one of the great thrills of making Andor is the scale of the story and the number of characters we're able to meet. Ordinary people, imperial overlords, passionate revolutionaries. They are real people making epic decisions, all of them staring down questions with terrifying consequences. Cassian's journey is the soul and spine of our story, but it's the choir that makes the show. I'm so excited for audiences to see where we go in season 2. Hell yeah. It is such a great cast of characters. And so, I'm so excited to see the story of all those characters. And then as far as credits go, this is good stuff to know as well. Tony Gilroy wrote the first 3 episodes. Beau Willimon wrote episodes 4 through 6. If I'm not mistaken, Beau Willimon wrote the Narkina 5 block of episodes in season 1. Yeah. Beau Willimon is also working with James Mangold on his script for the what do you call it? Not Jedi Prime, whatever it's called, the First Jedi story or whatever. So hopefully that's
nice,
going well. And he's done some good stuff. I think he worked on House of Cards also. I don't know. He's worked on a lot of stuff, and he's good. So Bo Willimon is writing episodes 4 through 6. Dan Gilroy, Tony Gilroy's brother, writing episodes 7 through 9. He wrote great episodes of the last season as well. And then Tom Bissell wrote the final 3 episodes. It's a TV show. It's a writer's room situation, I'm sure. So everybody's kind of involved in all of it. But, those writers are the ones who, I think, go off and kind of, write the final scripts for each block of episodes. So, yeah, promising stuff there. And then the directors. I don't know if any of them are returning directors. Ariel Kleinman, episodes 1 through 6. So half of the season. Janice Metz, episodes 7 through 9. And Alonso Ruiz Palacios, probably mispronounced that, I apologize, episodes 10 through 12. So we know that. And we got to look at a poster too. Did you check out the poster, Ryan?
Yeah.
You don't like it?
I don't love it.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I like it. I like it as a teaser poster because I think that's what it is, right? Like these shows usually always have at least 2 posters. So the first one is usually not as it's not as complete's not the right word, but like it's not as ambitious usually. It's more of a tease, right? This is little Anakin's shadow of Darth Vader behind him for episode 1, or
one of the greatest posters of all time.
It is, yes, but like if that was the final poster for Phantom Menace, then we wouldn't have the Drew Struzan painted epic poster that features all the characters and gives you an idea of what the whole, you know what I mean? Like it's one of the greatest teasers ever, and teaser posters can be amazing, but I just expect them to
a concept.
Yes,
it's a teaser. Yes,
yeah.
I mean, I think like a good recent example is the Acolyte teaser poster that we had with the
blood
lightsaber and the blood, like
so
compelling, so good.
Yeah.
And I think this isn't on that level.
No,
like
maybe
I get what it's saying.
Yeah.
Is Andor's face and the Death Star.
Yeah.
Cool. But I don't know. It's a little corny to me, which is not what this show is. The show is not corny.
Okay.
And it's not always, it feels kind of like on the nose.
It is on the nose. I would say that. It's like on the nose, and his nose is on the Death Star. Yeah.
The Death Star. Yeah.
It's on the nose, but it's also, I mean, this is on the nose too, but it's about, individuals taking on an empire, individuals taking on the larger evil, you know what I mean? And I don't know. I think I hear you though. I can see what why it wouldn't necessarily work for you, or how it's like sort of like, in some ways it does kind of feel like if we took 30 seconds and we're like, okay, we need a poster for Andor, like how about the Death Star and his face? You know what I mean? Like I get that, but I don't know. When I looked at it, it took me maybe a second before I was like, it just looked like maybe a painting of Cassian, like, oh, it's textured, like whatever. And then I was like, oh shit,
or
that's
like
the Death Star.
Mosaic.
Yeah. And then I realized what it was, and I was like, all right, that's clever. I like that, so, but yeah, we'll see. Right. Maybe, hopefully we get a better one then for the launch of the show. We'll see.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Well, we're just over an hour, Ryan. It's pretty impressive for us to have a complete conversation in around an hour. So I feel pretty accomplished there.
And
it's good to be.
It's the difference between not going frame by frame.
Yeah. Hey, 2025. We're turning over a new leaf. Maybe we'll try to make this show like entertaining and good. We'll see what we can do in 2025.
Absolutely not promising.
All right. Fair enough. All right. So we're going to wrap up there. We'll be back soon with another episode of the Blockade Runner podcast. I'm hoping to pick up the new Alexander Freed book this week. I haven't read a Star Wars book in a while, but when I'm hearing about that one, I'm ready to go. So
sounds like a scorcher.
Yep. I'm hoping to start reading that book. Yeah. Hoping to start reading that this week. So maybe we'll have a chance to talk about that sometime soon. Some other Star Wars stuff. We'll be back before Andor debuts on April 22nd for sure. Until then, you can find all of our previous episodes, posts, videos, etc. at blockaderunnerpodcast.com. If you want to share your thoughts on the show, email us blockaderunnerpodcast@gmail.com. Follow the show on Blue Sky, or join our Discord, and there is a link to the Discord in the show notes. Ryan, if listeners want to contact you, how could they do that?
Yeah, I'm on Blue Sky, DVD menus, and standard issue gaming.
All right, very good. Well, thanks once more for listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode of the Blockade Runner Podcast.